All right, everyone. Just so you got it. Welcome to the Warwick Zoom Garden Plot, Season 4, Episode 4. Very symmetrical today. Welcome, everyone. I've got some new people. Always welcome. We're going to go over tonight's agenda. Introductions will be our first thing. Anyone new? Then I'll be showing my garden and Bill. Then the community garden. Well, we might skip this community garden just because so early on that, things aren't really, we're doing a lot, but I'm sure, Sarah agrees that we don't have too much to show as of now, but we are doing a lot of stuff. Then we're going to have announcements, show and tell, and question and answer. So I know we have a new member. If you don't mind, Sam, I know we just asked you a question before, but if you want to give you a little brief introduction to the Zoom Garden crew, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Well, my name is Sam. I moved to Warwick 2 years ago, so I've been here a couple years. Recently my fiance's been very health conscious, and I've always grown up being in the garden because of my mom. So things kind of just fell together at one time, and now I'm like looking into starting my own food garden and doing a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I was looking for some compost, like I mentioned before, and you guys invited me to join the meeting tonight, and I'm here.
Welcome. We're happy to have you. Where did your mom grow up?
In New York City, in the Bronx.
Oh, okay. Because when you,
Yeah, luckily,
thought you, I thought you were going to say some farmland that you grew up.
no,
New
no,
York, you don't have a lot of people farming in the
no,
Bronx,
yeah,
so that's
luckily
great
we
that
had
you're
like an
growing stuff.
outdoor garden area, so
Oh, nice.
yes.
And Sue, are you a newer person, or were you there at a previous meeting?
No, I haven't been at a previous meeting, but I've been on the email list for a while. I live in Tuxedo,
Welcome.
and because I'm in an apartment, I have a small garden, and I keep looking for ways to expand into things. But I'm also part of, in Tuxedo, we have a group that's working with the Palisades Interstate Park Commission, and we have a pollinator meadow at the intersection of 17 and 17A. So I've been involved with that.
Very nice. Excellent.
Nice.
We're always happy to hear about stuff like that. And I know,
So I'm trying to listen, and I have to apologize. I'm trying to do two meetings at the same time. So one's our town board, and if they get to the part that I have to be part of, I may disappear in.
All right. Well, you can just hang out. We appreciate you making it with your multitasking.
If those people are bored, they should just call it quits and go home.
Or join our meeting.
Yeah, right. Just clue them in. So yes, I'm going to show my garden, and I hope I'm famous for taking really horrible pictures, but hopefully I took ones. And
they look good.
Now I have to say my backyard is very small, so I really associate with most of you. I have a very small yard, but so I'm trying to get the most out of it I can. So I just I grow around the edges because we have a little pool that we can never seem to get the pH right. So we waste a lot of room in the pool, even though the pool seems to kill all the beetles seem to drown in the pool, so it has some beneficial effect. But asparagus are coming plentifully, and they're delicious, and I eat them right out. I don't cook them or anything. They're very soft and edible. So I just grab them right out of the ground and usually eat them before I even get inside the house. And they're just delicious. But they still make a urine smell of that asparagus smell. I haven't avoided
aroma.
that. Yes, that beautiful.
May I interject an asparagus question here?
Yes.
I hope nobody will disparage my question about asparagus. I've got an asparagus patch. Some of the asparagus come up like really thin. It's like they're right next to ones that come up nice and thick. Is that just they're maybe a new immature part of a plant, or that plant has just had bad luck, or I had bad luck, or what?
How many years have you had your asparagus in for?
Oh, it's well established, 7 or 8.
Oh, well, Bill might have a better idea than.
Well, they probably are dropping seeds. And
Mhm.
so when you see the small asparagus, you're just getting new ones that have seeded.
Okay.
Right. I recently watched a video that said that it's best to probably cut those seeds because, you know, it's also taken away some of the energy from producing the asparagus roots. But, you know, but as you
Yeah.
say, maybe a few years from now, those little thin ones will be nice thick ones in a few years. So yeah, I would just say hang in there and don't
We
eat
did
those
that.
little thin
We did
ones.
that last year. We took the red seeds, berries away.
Yeah, but maybe some fell anyway.
Hmm.
And I just planted some in our community garden as well this week. So hopefully 3 years from now we'll be enjoying those. And here, as you can see, you know, Greenwood Lake is very different than Warwick. You know, our neighbors are literally I could throw a pit out the window and hit them. So the first slide I have is elderberry. Oh, no, hazelnut on the right. No, in the left corner. If that makes sense. Yes, that's
This one up here?
hazelnut. Yes. And next to the one down below is elderberry. And again, I'm trying to really go for a lot of perennials. I'm really emphasizing perennial things to grow over the last few years, and it's really starting to bear fruit. You know, you have to be patient because it's not going to come for a while, as opposed to annuals. But I really am appreciating the beauty of it, and I have not mowed the backyard yet. We'll see how long that lasts for. But I'm trying to do no mow May. You know, it's my wife's being pretty good and nice so far. So far, she's letting me. And the last picture, I believe, I have to move, is the comfrey behind that. So I usually have a little comfrey growing,
Mm-hmm.
and I usually cut that down, and that's a really good nitrogen fixer. So the comfrey, I throw that in sometimes I throw it in the other beds. I throw that in my compost, and then it'll come back. Right? Yeah, comfrey will definitely spread, but I put it in an area that I'm not too worried about it spreading. So those
This
are
year, I want
sorry.
to say something about comfrey. So this year I've got a patch that's outside of my deer fence, and the deer are not eating it.
Yeah,
And so inside the
won't
deer
do.
fence, my wife doesn't like it, and she will cut it as soon as she sees it, she will cut it and try to dig it up. And of course, you can't stop comfrey, but she doesn't like. But outside the deer fence, she's like unaware it's there, and so I will have
It's
it to
very
snip and use
medicinal.
for. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is.
I mean, I know your wife is a healer. You know, she could. I think it's good for like wounds or different things you could do with comfrey, and it makes. That's what I make my compost out of. I like make a compost tea out of it.
I
Take
think
the sorry.
if you take it internally, I think it causes liver damage. That might be
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
Right,
I
right.
didn't say.
Yeah.
I didn't say eat it. I said you could use it.
Yeah, yeah.
for
No, I'm
wounds.
just saying that's why the deer won't eat it probably because they
Oh,
always,
maybe, yeah.
animals have a lot. Sometimes they have sense like that. They know what to eat and what not to eat.
But I usually I cut a bunch of comfrey, put it in a bucket with water, and I
That's
let it
good.
sit for a few weeks, and it smells horrific. But I kind of use that water as fertilizer.
I'm gonna try that this year. So
Sounds
I have a
like
big
fun and
comfrey.
easy.
What were you saying, Sarah?
I want to ask you a question about the hazelnuts because the orchard group, if you're new here, I'm the four-person, we'll call myself, of the Warwick Community Garden. And we also have an orchard. And the orchard wants to put in some bushes and nut trees. And one of the ideas was hazelnuts. And one thing I've been trying to explain to that, the group is some things take quite a while to mature and produce anything. And we also have to be aware of how much fruit or nuts you get from a plant in a group setting like we have. So how long does it take for a hazelnut? They look like bushes rather than trees to mature.
It's like six. It's like six. As I would say, it's about 6 feet.
Okay.
6 feet tall, and they're 3, 4, 5 years before you start getting hazelnuts.
Right.
And it's you get a good number from them, especially if they're raised well. But and they're fascinating to eat. you'll think, oh, I get to need to get more of these from the store next time I have a chance, because peeling them, they're fascinating. I would definitely go ahead. I think your group will like them, but it's not like you're going to have tons and tons, and people will be fed for the winter off their hazelnuts. It's not like that, but you'll get a
Right.
decent amount for everybody. It's just that you have to go through this thing of peeling them, like one by one, but it's a beautiful thing because it has this very nicely layered outer part for hazelnuts. It's really a neat thing. So I definitely recommend it.
Sort of
Yeah,
like,
it's I
yeah.
mean, you're always going to be in trouble with a community garden, no matter how much you grow.
No, I know.
If you had 10 hazelnut trees, you could make like, probably a jar and a half of like Nutella. Like
No,
you don't
no, no, no,
when
no.
you go to the store, you don't realize how many thousands of trees
Right.
are needed, or to make anything really
I think
productive.
one bush would make 2 or 3 jars of Nutella.
Oh, you would? Okay. You remember last year I got the squirrels took all my hazelnuts before I got them. So I don't.
Squirrels. You had to bring up the word squirrels.
Yes.
So with the peeling of them, like I have black walnut trees in my yard, and I grew up with black walnut trees, and my aunts and my mother, we used to like actually harvest the black walnuts, and it's excruciating process. So I don't know if anyone's harvested black walnuts. Is it that difficult?
Oh, no, but no.
No.
Okay.
Not like that. No,
Much
no.
easier.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
no. That's a whole breaking that thing. That's a different level.
Oh. It's a
And
nice.
so, elderberry again, I have my elderberries growing beautifully, but even if I pick all of them, it's going to be a little bit of elderberry. And then, so the comfrey, so I will go to the next slide, and that will be this is a cherry tree. This is my 4th year, hopefully.
Looking
I
good.
got it as a little
Nice.
stick, so it's really growing nicely. It does. I really have to keep my eye on it because it does get a lot of aphids and beetles attacking. It seems to be quite popular with the predators. But and it's funny. I told you 2 years ago I got one cherry. It was hysterical. Like one cherry was coming out of the actual tree. It was gorgeous, perfect, and so far that's the only thing I've gotten. And then, and
Priceless.
as you see, I use ground cover. I'm trying to plant more and more strawberry ground cover, so hopefully that will spread. And then if you go to the next slide.
Did you
sorry.
plant the strawberry this year, or that's coming back from last year?
No, yeah, that's a few years ago.
Okay.
And then I know it's hard to see what any of this stuff. Then that's my little compost bin and my leaf pile in the corner. And I am trying to plant a few more pollinators, which are not my strong suit, but I did put they're not quite coming up yet, but like a few asters, and I always forget the names of them, but Sonia Mason helped me. So I planted a few things. So I'm going to try to be a little more aesthetic this year, because usually I'm only truly focused on like eating stuff. Then in that little corner, you see that's wineberry and raspberry kind of mixed up. And that's great because that's like a little spot that it's pretty shaded. There's like tree stumps. There's like I'm happy that's growing there because like nothing else could I do with that corner. So they're really tasty. So I get a lot of stuff. And above, I don't know if I did. I have a big mulberry tree above that. I don't know if I got a picture of that. So that's like my berry section. And next, now the squirrels are very mean, and they almost always anything I plant. Every year, the first things I plant as annuals, the squirrels take them all the time. The first bunch. So I might as well just put like fake stuff in next year. The first, and then they're usually nice after the first stuff. I put in kale, spinach, Swiss chard, arugula. It was all growing beautiful, and then I just came up the next day and they're all pulled out. But I have some peas growing, and I think you see sage over there in the left, and behind that's my I have a peach tree. I don't know. I don't think I took a picture. Maybe I took a picture of that. Oh yeah. There's the peach tree, the big peach tree. So there's a peach tree. That my biggest challenge there is also the squirrels to get the peaches before the squirrels do. That's like a game we have every year. 2 years ago I did well. Last year they got me good. And so I am growing peas, and I have some scallions too in the bottom, and some garlic from last year. So, and again, I do run the community garden. So unfortunately, a lot of times I think the community garden gets like most of my effort. But I'm gonna put a few tomatoes and good old boring stuff in there. I think that might be, and again, I should take a picture of the whole yard because it's very small, but it does show you that, you can get a decent amount of production even from a small space. I think that might be it. I'm not sure. I have to see the pictures. Yes, thank you. Any questions or comments before we move on to Bill?
Yeah.
Yes.
My name is not Mary. That's my wife.
Okay.
But she gardens with me, so I'm going to leave her name up.
All right.
Just kidding. Anyway, I have a couple pictures to show. As most people know who've seen me before, I have a very large garden, and I've gardened for a very long time. So my goal for the past 10 years has been to grow 4 seasons. That is, have fresh food spring, summer, fall, and winter. And I'm pretty successful at it, although there are times when I don't get everything, so or a lot. But anyway, this is my winter situation, is this greenhouse here. It's 16 by 18. I planted in the fall, and I harvest from it over 2 months from stuff that I planted in there, which are almost full size. And then I also plant smaller stuff that come in spring. So right now it's loaded with lots of greens, and it's unheated, and not a lot of work to take care of in the winter. So if you have the space and are looking for some winter greens, a small greenhouse would work pretty well too. Okay, the other thing that you see here, I have a 4,000 square foot garden, which is larger than most people's houses, I guess.
Mhm.
But in any case, what you see here is it's a row of peas, and I have another row of peas that are not shown here. And I planted the peas in March. It was a slight window of decent weather. And as you know, peas have to be planted early because they don't like the heat. And if you plant them too late, they don't do very well because it gets too warm too quickly. But these are the best peas that I've had in years at this time. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to get a really good crop. And I grow the sugar snaps that grow 6 feet, some of the regular peas, and then some, okay, I'm blanking on the name, but the snow peas. So I have 3 types of peas. In the foreground here, there's a strawberry bed. I have 2 strawberry beds, and they have blossoms on. And we get a lot of strawberries. They come usually in June or sometimes late May, not this year. And we freeze a lot of it and use it in cereal, frozen berries for breakfast. And I think we got 56 pints last year from the bed that we were able to store, plus stuffing ourselves from what we could eat directly. Okay, on the other slide here, in the foreground, these are little deep rows with leeks in them. I put these out a couple weeks ago, and about 36 leeks here. And I'll get them in the late fall. I haven't mulched them yet, so they need to be mulched. In addition to the greenhouse, I sometimes use some cold frames, and you can see the 2 cold frames in front of you. I put them out a little, well, probably a month and a half ago, maybe even 2 months ago. And it's mostly lettuce, Chinese greens, spinach, and stuff like that. And it's done well. They have covers, and if it gets really cold, I just cover them. And inside, I have jugs of water, which I always use in the winter to store the energy from the sun, and then to release it at night to keep the plants warmer. I find that the plants do better with it. I don't know anybody else in the world that does this, but as a physicist, I know it works. So you could try it. And then right behind that is a bed of flowers. We have a bed of different kinds of flowers. In the spring, they're mostly bulbs coming up, but now we're going to put in, dahlias and sunflowers and stuff like that. So again, it goes through a seasonal change. Any questions on anything you see here or questions in general?
I have a question.
Yeah,
on
I'm sorry.
no, you go first, Chad. You go first.
I was gonna say with the hoop house, isn't it like, do you have to raise and lower it like when it gets too hot during the day? Like, do you have to like
What
raise the sides and stuff, or
not in the winter.
no, I mean like now, like like a day
Now
like today.
I leave it open all the time right now because the stuff in there are greens, they're hardy. I just leave it open. If it goes even down to 35 or even 30, I can leave it open. The greens aren't really bothered much by that by now. They've been through the winter, so they're hardy. And so no, I don't open and close it now. I just leave it open.
Do you
And
start
what I
seeds
do
in there?
now,
Do you start any seeds in there?
no, I transplant. I'm going to have to pull everything out of here within the next week because it's all starting to go to seed. And what I do is I plant tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, zucchini, stuff like that in the greenhouse. And they come a little earlier than they would outside because it's warmer.
Mhm.
And in addition, they don't get wet, so they don't get quite, I mean, I water them at the root level. They don't get as much diseases, so that's desirable. And then in the fall, when it gets cold, I can close it off and at night or in the daytime if it's really cold and extend the season so I can get, tomatoes and peppers right into November. So that's good. Most people will be done after the first frost outside. So that's another advantage of this. I do try to grow 12 months a year in the greenhouse as well.
Thank you.
Bill, when you say you open it, are you just pulling the plastic part of the way up, or do you take it all the way off?
No, you see it open right now. That's open. I just opened both sides. There's two.
Oh, okay.
There's pipes there, and you just open it up and let a little breeze go through. If it's say 45 or 50 and it's sunny, that's when you open it up. But that's usually just in the spring.
Okay.
And the fall. In the summer, it's just open permanently. So you're not like opening and closing it all the time. And in the winter, it's closed almost all the time and requires really no care, not even watering through the winter. It just sits there and grows.
Okay.
I have a question about the leaks. When you have you had issues with the allium leaf miner? Because the last time I grew leeks, they take a long time to mature. So I planted them in April, probably mid-April or so, and I missed the spring infestation or the spring hatching of the allium leaf miner. But then they have a life cycle where they go through two they have two life they have two life cycles in one season. In September or October they have their second, the flies come out and they lay the eggs and the larvae, and that second round of the leaf miners I got nailed really bad. I lost every leak except for maybe a handful out of, like, I had 125 leaks and I probably lost 120 because they just burrowed down the stem, got into the root section, and just, you'd open it up and there'd be either pupa or maggots in there, and it destroyed the whole plant. So do you ever run into
I have had some damage, and I thank you for reminding me, because what I'm going to do this year, I haven't had any bad damage like you had, but I've had some damage. I have a netting that is lightweight that you can leave on over the summer. And this year, I've never tried it before for the leeks, but I think I'm going to cover them up, and it's very light, so it doesn't create a problem in the heat, and keep those bugs from getting in there. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah, it's usually the onions that are no problem, because if you can get past the April cycle infestation, you harvest your onions in August, so you're not going to hit that second life cycle. But the leeks just take forever to mature. You're into November practically before they get really nice and big. So you always get that second one. I got nailed on the second. So good luck with them. They look good.
They're coming. They're very tiny right now.
Yeah,
inches. Okay, two more, and then I'm done. This is on the side of my house, and these are the warm weather crops that I'm hardening off right now. I just started to harden them off. I'm putting them out a little bit, and then a little bit more the next day. I'm covering them with shade netting because the sun has been pretty intense, lately. So I cover them and then gradually remove the netting. And in about 6 days to a week or so, most of these will be probably 1.5 times their size, but also they'll be hardened off so that they can go out. But I'm still going to watch the weather very carefully because things are very erratic, as you might know, in terms of the weather lately, and it's been so for a few years. But this spring was really something else in terms of cool for the past 3 weeks and rain. But anyway, that's how I
except for that 90-degree day in March.
Yeah, except for the
Right.
90 day in March. Right. And then, so anyway, I just put them next to the house. I have some hoops here to keep the netting from crushing the plants. And I just attach the netting with some either rocks at the end or just some clothespins to keep it in place, keep the insects off, and also keep the sun from damaging them. You have to water them every day or two. Otherwise, you're in trouble. So particularly if it's sunny. And finally, this is an early thing I put out. I started some seeds in the greenhouse, and a lot of beets came up, and I decided I would just plant them outside. I have some hoops on this, and I covered them up. They've been out for like 2.5 months now, and they look very healthy. They have good leaf development and no damage. And I don't know about the beets in the ground yet, but the tops look good. So something will be edible there. And that's I have a lot of other things to show, but there's a limited number of pictures that you should see. Okay, so
Thank you very much. Looks amazing as always. Appreciate you sharing it.
Anyone have questions for Bill?
And now we're going to do shimmy in place. Sam, Sue, we usually do this because we all sit most of the day. So we take a moment. You can either stay on camera, go off camera, just take a minute and get up and move around a little bit. So I'll see you, everyone.
in 1 minute, right?
1 minute.
1 minute.
All righty. Where's everybody?
It ran away.
Turn.
They're gone.
All right. Now that we're all refreshed, we're going to move on to announcements.
Oh, I had just one question
Oh,
before.
yes, sir.
And I know it's the same question that Sam had, which is in terms of finding local compost. And I'm realizing that I could use more compost. I do have a compost bin, but I'm not getting enough for my garden. And so if people have sources of compost locally that you use, commercial or other sources, I know that the Warwick Village compost has gotten a lot worse in terms of what they do. And I used to get some from there, but I don't get any now. So anyway, if anybody has any thoughts about getting good compost,
Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, but like, why do you say, what do they used to do more to it than they do now? Like, why is it worse? I mean,
I
Oh,
looked at it the
sand.
other day, they're just not, they're not mixing it
No.
up. It's full of rocks and other things. It's just sticks and it's just, you'd have to really clean it out. And I'm not sure that it's fully composted either. So,
No, I
Yeah,
went over there to get some, because I would get it and then add it into, other dirt and use it in my containers, and it's a mess. I scrounged some up, but
oh yeah, we should
I'm
say
gonna
something.
ask Barry. Barry Cheney.
Yeah.
I'm gonna nicely ask Barry Cheney if he knows what's going on.
Well, I mean, we'll ask for a source, but we are, a few of us, Jeff, Howard, Roger Moss, we are trying to work on a village-wide composting program. So hopefully that's something in the next few years. Adding food scraps to that will be a big addition, but we're still working out the details. I'm trying to do something green relate. But as of now, does anyone have anything they could suggest for Bill? Any local source? And I know Sam is looking at that as well.
Bill, if anyone wants to borrow my soil sifter, that would be a way to take that compost and at least get all the junk out. You have to tip one end up against the ladder and you shovel it through and use a little broom to sort of broom it up and down, and you have a lot of stray junk comes out, but at least you have sifted compost on the bottom. That's quite useful. And my soil sifter deluxe is available for birthday parties, and I don't like to loan it out for weddings. I notice people tend to have so much attention on the soil sifter when they should be paying attention to the groom and the bride. But birthday parties, or you're working in your garden, you want to borrow it, just let me know, and I'm happy to.
Is this, Michael, is that like a wooden frame with some screening over it, or is it something different?
Give me a minute and I can share a picture of it.
Great.
And Bill, I think Sweetman's Farm, I think will.
they have,
they have Yeah, I think they will.
They have composted cow manure.
Yeah, they do. We bought some last year.
And it's an organic farm, so it's organic cow manure. And it's composted. It's not fresh manure.
It's pretty good. I mean, it had some clumps in it, but we bought the thing is, I don't think they deliver. One of our members, and he wasn't happy after he did it, but I got somebody to go over and pick it up. But I mean, it's decent. It's decent to add.
I think they will deliver for like $50. They'll charge more for it, but I think they will deliver it. Hey,
or if you don't need that much, you might be able to buy it by the bag. But yes, Sweetman's is a possible good resource.
Okay, good, thank you.
But this is a little off topic, but speaking of like picking stuff up, is anyone familiar with, have you seen those, like, I don't know if they're Key or Kai or K trucks, the little Japanese trucks with the they're the right-hand driver. They sell them in Goshen. They sell them, they import them from Japan, and they'd be perfect for a garden because they're like little trucks they're tiny, but they're like for picking up manure or bags or garden stuff. They'd be perfect. And I was thinking of picking one up for the community, not for the community garden, for my purpose in the community garden. But I heard problems about registration with it. Does anyone have seen them or familiar with them? Okay.
Are they registered on the road?
Well, that's the thing. They're like, if you ever seen them, they're really, really small. They're like, it's like take a truck and shrink it down to like a quarter of its size. It's like really, really tiny. And I don't know, like, so they're supposedly like on that borderline of legal or registerable or non-registerable. And I was just wondering if anyone had any like experience with them, because I don't want to buy something and then find out, like, when I go down to DMV or a year or two down the road, it's like, oh, nope, that's illegal. You can't.
Yeah, I would find that out first.
Yeah.
Or electric.
What's that? It's a little gas, but the
Gas.
engines are 600 cc's. They're like tiny engines. It's like
Like a golf cart?
like a
Like an
bigger than a
ATV?
golf cart. Like a glorified ATV with a cab, and it's got the heater and everything, but it's a kind of like a glorified ATV. I would say it's more in that range, but a little bit bigger. They after 25 years, they can import them here. And some states allow you to register them, some states don't. So it's like a mess as far as the DMV. But it would be perfect for a community garden because they're like so small and they don't use a lot of gas.
We'll look into it. We'll try to let you know by next session.
I was just wondering, yeah. If you hear anything, just let me know. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Well,
People that sell it, the people that sell it should be able to tell you this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you think?
I know, right? You don't have to believe them, but
Yeah.
I can find out for you. You know, I'm an insurance agent. I don't do personal insurance. I only do commercial insurance, but I can easily find out for you. Because like in the village, people drive all sorts of things around in the village to get from a couple spots that you couldn't take out on the highway, but they just look the other way. So it may be something like that, but I'll find out for you.
They're called KEI trucks. KEI.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce.
I think for the most part, you can't have them on highways,
Right.
but you know,
that's one thing I've
putting
heard.
along
Yeah.
on town roads, it's probably okay.
Yeah, that's how like farm vehicles work that way. There's a special registration for farm vehicles. So
All right, we'll look into that.
Also, ATVs are okay to register as long as they're used for agricultural purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So I want to get us back to the
Yes. Sorry about that. Sorry if I took
vehicles are important, but
As you see, Michael's strange diving board.
so this is the Soil Sifter Deluxe, and it's called Deluxe because on the other side it actually has a carrying handle. Otherwise, it would just be a soil sifter. But you know, you prop one end up against a ladder or something. Underneath it, you put a tarp. What I like to do is throw like a 5-gallon bucket of soil onto this thing. Then I use this broom. It was like, it's a really old broom. It's not good for anything except for this. And I sort of like to brush it upwards. And then, as you can see, nice soil falls below. And the stuff you don't want, or the stuff that needs a little more time in the compost, goes down here. I usually have a separate piece of tarp down here so that can be easily picked up. So, and then like, I think over here is some peat moss that I will mix in or something, or and the other thing is the what's the white bubbles stuff? The white
Vermiculite.
Vermiculite, yeah. You can. That's also a good thing to add in for the drainage. That's a recommended thing for garden beds. So anyway, that's a one shot of my.
I really like it. Deluxe. Did you build it or you bought it that way?
Oh no! Oh yeah, this was built, and the 2x4s came out of our house when we did some renovations. So those are like ancient 2x4s.
Nice.
Well, 70 years old.
Very nice.
Good.
It's
I like
really
the way it's propped up. Nice.
Right.
It's really
clever.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to use a ladder here. You could also use like a sawhorse or something.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like you can almost fit a wheelbarrow under there, like, and just have it go right in the wheelbarrow.
That's right. You could do it that way.
Nice.
You might miss some of the wheelbarrow but hey.
Yeah.
I don't need anything that big, but it just looks so neat. I want it.
Yeah.
We'll just bring it over to Michael's house.
Yeah.
I'd like to order one for my grandson's birthday party, actually.
Actually, we have a smaller one too that fits on top of a wheelbarrow, because the stuff that comes through that is a pretty wide screen. So then you run it through the second one with a finer screen to get really, fine compost for. So like Sam, for your garden, if you wanted to use that, like just straight like that for the bottom couple feet, but then the top 6 inches, or do a finer sifting. That's how I would do that. And I would definitely get vermiculite in your bed to help with drainage and stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of things for drainage. I think pumice or lava rock as well was a good choice I saw.
Yeah.
Actually, I just bought some rice hulls to use for the soil mix that I'm gonna make.
I had used some coconut coir, but I'm doing it in in boxes, but I loved that. I felt like it really held up well for a couple of seasons, and I loved it.
The coconut coir?
Coir, COIR.
Yeah,
it comes in like it comes in a block. I'm sorry, what?
I think that and peat moss was another good option that I saw. I haven't decided which I was gonna do.
They do say that peat moss is never sustainably harvested, that it takes a long time for it to form.
Yeah.
And it actually holds a lot of greenhouse gases. And so maintaining peatlands is an important climate solution. And so if you can get core and go that way, and if that works for you, that's great.
Mm.
What about leaves, like from the fall, like from your yard or from your neighbor's yard? That helps to fill it up too. And when they rot, they become extremely good um, organic matter.
I've got a picture of something like that later. I was going to ask a question about.
I grabbed a couple bags today actually and filled up a bunch of fall leaves because my
leaves are great.
Okay to grab stuff on the side that they had here, so I just grabbed a bunch of stuff.
Great.
All right, so announcements we have. We got a nice pollinator fest coming up next week from Orange Environment and the Hudson Valley Pollinator Project. So that might be something you might want to check out with family. And Michael, you might want to make these other announcements.
So Sustainable Warwick does have a community composting program that's in its infant stages. We're looking for volunteers. It's a chance to hang out with other people from the Warwick community. Basically what happens is we have volunteers at the farmers markets with buckets, and so people or restaurants will bring their compostable materials and fill up these buckets, and at the end of the day they get schlepped over to a farm that's somewhere in the town. Where is it, Chuck?
It's by the town park.
By the town park.
Yeah, Dan Doyle, yeah. But
Right.
Also just like the farmers market is Sunday morning, right? Sunday morning you would need to volunteer.
Right.
Warwick is, yeah.
Yep.
Although occasionally there are other things to volunteer. So that would be a good, and compost is another climate solution. You keep, if your food scraps go into the landfill, they become methane, and that's a big no-no as far as the future of the planet. There's a bill in front of the New York State Senate, S1856. It's actually in front of the Environmental Conservation Committee, and our Senator James Skoufis, is on that committee, and his phone number is that you can see it there on the screen. The Birds and Bees Protection Act, basically it would say you can't use neonicotinoids as seed coatings. So for corn and wheat and soy, when they put it on the seed coating, basically then the entire plant's going to end up with a neonicotinoid in it. And then it gets into the insects who eat it and die. And then the birds who eat those insects also die. So the EPA has recently, their research has showed that probably 11% of the, I think, insects on the endangered insect list will probably be wiped out by these if they continue to be used. So
is that for farmers or is that just for
that's for farmers? And
what about gardeners? I don't think they use that in gardener seed, do they?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's definitely for farmers. And
Okay.
the bill specifically says if you really have an infestation and you need to do targeted use of the neonicotinoid, that's okay, but just not on every seed that goes into the ground.
Yeah, I agree. That makes a lot of sense.
So
Yeah.
so please call Senator Skoufis, and you don't have to, if you're nervous about calling, if you've never called your state representative, don't be nervous. You can call and just leave a message on the answering machine. I mean, how difficult could that be? And at the end of the day, they say, wow, people are calling about this. It's important. And then they know it's something to act on. And he is on that committee. And apparently he's sort of on the fence about this. And the other thing to know is that Too Good to Toss will be held on May 20th and 21st.
And they always need a lot of volunteers.
They do,
Great
they do.
event.
And it's another great community event to be involved with. And we're not running it, it's not Sustainable Warwick's event, but we do encourage people to participate in that.
Michael, do you know why he's on the fence about that? Is it just any reason? I mean,
I don't know his reasoning.
Yeah, gotcha. Because to me, that's kind of like almost like a no-brainer.
I heard he was following Senator Hinchy, and I'm not sure what Senator Hinchy was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, gotcha. I just thought maybe you didn't know.
If you're interested in a meeting about it tomorrow night, let me know and I will send you a link to get involved with a meeting about that.
Okay, I'll see if I can
bill.
make. But I could definitely call him. I've called his office before. about other things, so I can call his office and let him know what I think in a nice way.
Great. So then the question is, when do you put your warm weather plants in the ground? And that was the one we sent out. And Dorothy, who said she won't be here in May, typed out this answer. Usually we don't expect people to type out answers. And the other thing is we expect people to send in questions. You know, if you have a question, you're a beginning gardener especially, we want you to send in questions, so we put them here. And that hasn't been going well this year. So I'm sorry, Chad, you're running the meeting. You go ahead.
I know what's going on. Come on. No, so basically, yeah, this is really the big question. Everyone seems to have a different opinion. So this is when do you put the warm weather stuff in the ground? That's the question. We could take a poll from our constituents. Sarah, when is your go-to date?
Well, you know, I have like my own psychic weather barometer in my mind, and I'm thinking this year, if it holds this week, I'm going to put some of the tomatoes and peppers out not this Sunday because it's Mother's Day and not that many people will come, but next Sunday. But I won't put out everything, like Dorothy said, just in case. But as far as planting direct seed in the ground, that's also iffy, because my experience has been, if you put in when I say direct seed, if you're new, you know, planting the seeds without starting them inside, the cukes, the summer squash, beans, and there's something else that list I'm forgetting, but I direct seed all that. I don't start and transplant them. When I've decided to get them out before the ground's really warm, nothing really happened. They just sort of sat there. So I learned to, especially all of those, just wait until it's really, you've had 5 days of really warm weather, and then I plant them, and they will come up and they will catch up with ones I planted 2 weeks earlier within a week. So that's, and then I also do succession planting. So it's not like I have one shot to do all this, but you're very delicate. Those precious tomatoes, those I ease in, because the garden's not in my backyard. And if we're going to have a really cold night and I'm afraid they're going to be damaged, I have to go over. It's not that far, but it's a big bed and it's a lot of work to cover it up, or I get a friend to come over and help me cover it up. So that's my go into the water. Go in the water cautiously.
So basically May 21st, you kind of start.
This year, it depends. I mean, every year is different.
And what about Bill? What about you?
Well, I think we're in erratic weather situation, probably forever. So we're in a situation that you just have to look at the weather forecast. They're good for a couple days usually, but after that they're not good. So if you look at a week and you say, oh well, it looks good, or 10-day forecast, don't believe it, okay? Because they're probably going to make a mistake. So I would say, you know,
look at this. We got a little temperature graph.
Yeah, be prepared to protect your stuff if you put it out. And for sensitive plants, you know, the peppers and eggplant and tomatoes, you know, it's smart to put them out gradually and be prepared to protect them. So I agree with Sarah there.
And do you plant your squash and cucumber direct seed, or do you start them?
I put almost everything out in plants. I know that Sarah says that seeds are good, but I find I do much better if I just start my stuff and put them out when they're reasonable size. But then I make sure that I protect them as well. So yeah. All
right, Mark. What about you?
I'm kind of split between Sarah and Bill. As a general rule of thumb, it's I put my transplants out the 3rd or 4th week of May, Memorial Day the week before. I do the same with my directs. I do direct seed like Sarah. I find that there's really no difference. I do it all at once. I don't. I just go out there and put them all at once. And if worse comes to worse, I just have to go down to Adams and buy new stuff. I I do that about the same time. Like the squash just doesn't like it if it gets cold, so I wait till I don't think it makes a difference. I put it out at the end of May, and the beans as well. I did plant marigolds and dill just yesterday because they're not as I find they're not quite as cold sensitive. I do that with zinnias, cornflowers. I do direct sow on almost everything except for the onions and tomatoes and peppers. Onions I planted yesterday. Potatoes I put in the ground yesterday. Marigolds and dill. I put a list them out a few weeks ahead of time in my cover crops, my cool weather cover crops. Of course, I put them in April. But basically the same idea as Bill and Sarah. And the same thing too is like you got to watch the weather. Bill's exactly right. 5 days after that, it's a hit or miss. And I lost 3 years ago. I put my plants out May 20th. We had a frost, and I lost all my May 20th. It's like whoever heard of that? So you take your chances, and I got burnt that year really bad. But
Yeah, so it seems the third week of May is the time to start going for it.
Cautiously.
Yeah.
Cautiously going for it.
I go all in. I'm like all in.
So
I hate
Mark,
going
did you get burnt or frosted?
He got
Frostbite.
frosted. I got burned. I was like, why did I put him out? Why couldn't I have waited another week? Because then it was that one cold, and then the weather turned beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
stupid me. I couldn't wait.
So it was tricky. Any other questions or that we had, Christy?
No.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the main one. Sam and all. That's especially around here, it's a little different. We're a little higher up than when you're Bronx or Brooklyn but definitely check the weather and be ready to have to run out one night in a panic when out of nowhere it drops down and you're like, no. But if you just have one raised bed, you can probably handle it.
Right.
Community gardens are a different story, and Bill has a much
Right.
bigger setup. He'd have a hard time covering everything.
So if you're going to go out and cover them in a panic, what would you use to cover them with? Some fine netting, like you were saying, or something else?
No, I have
Comforter?
AgriGrow.
AgriGrow. Okay.
I
What
mean,
about you, Bill?
I have some plastic that I use. I have some slitted plastic, and I have the AgriGrow fabric. And whichever one seems to be the simplest. And I have some hoops. So I put the hoops in, throw the stuff over it, put some rocks on the stuff because it might be windy. And you could also have individual plants. You could just have, if you have 5-gallon pails, you could just turn over some pails to protect them.
Cover them.
You don't have a lot, I don't know how many 5-gallon pails people have. I have about 5.
I have a dumb question. It's dumb.
There are no such dumb questions.
I've got like a ton of 5-gallon pails that I left over from salt that was delivered to me from Abby. I was wondering, is it possible? Can you clean those out and use them, or to keep them the hell away from the garden?
Sure. Why
I would
not?
clean them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They're-
just clean them very thoroughly. But if you do a good job, you should be able to use those.
Okay.
Back to the covering. We have square tomato cages, quite a lot of them. I want to get more of them because we plant a lot of tomatoes. And another thing I'd forgotten about, that's what I've done in a community garden. You need to get some things in as soon as possible, because Chad will tell you everyone's really eager and they're really tired of you telling them to weed and do really boring things.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what do we want to do?
So you gotta keep some momentum and enthusiasm. Plus, you want to get some earlier tomatoes. So, like I said, I never put out all the tomatoes the first round, but I will when I put out those tomatoes the 21st. I generally will take some of this AgriCloth, because they're big square. What do you call those?
Frames.
Frames that I put in when we plant them. I will cut off and cover that with the fabric, because if there's a lot of they've been out on my deck and they're hardened off, but if you get like really hot sun, that can be too much for them. Or if you get a cool evening, that will hopefully protect them enough that there doesn't have to be an emergency trip over there. And I use that cloth to protect greens all summer so that I can keep growing them. And it keeps them shaded. I don't keep it, all the way down. So it's a really useful thing to have. And you can, first year we used it, we bought like a huge roll from an agricultural supply, but you can buy anything anywhere now. You can buy smaller amounts of it. You can buy it on Amazon, and it comes in different weights. There's like winter weight, all-purpose weight. So, you can get, I don't know, 20 feet or something for not that much money, and it's useful.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Well, we do want to try to keep it to an hour, and we appreciate everyone coming. Next session will be May 22nd, I believe. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, right? We're going to do 7:30, I think, again, and maybe June will go to 8 o'clock, probably.
But we'll be sending out an email, so
Yes,
everybody
we'll be
get
sending
a
out.
reminder.
I like that personalized one that you had my name on it, Chad. That was
Just
sweet.
for you, Chad.
Oh, wait, Michael's causing trouble. What's going on, Michael?
Yeah, well, I've got a question.
You're
and-
overtime. I don't know
yeah,
about this.
Yeah, sorry. We're going to go into overtime here. So I've talked about this before so if you look in here, you see in the middle, there's like a tree stump that's like really rotted. And you see I've got this 4-foot fencing, and basically I put compostables in there, and I didn't put much energy into this. Well, maybe I grew potatoes in there once, but extra leaves, just throw them in and come back a couple years later. So it's outside my deer fence. The tree stump has rotted to a great deal, but look at this. Look at that soil under there. Oh my gosh, it's such a great thing. So I'm thinking, what would people think of, what would you suggest to plant here? And thinking back that, I still have that tree stump there, and there's probably roots underneath. What might you suggest for planting in this spot? And maybe we can wait until next year or something.
Well,
Until next week.
One thing that you could do outside of your fence that deer don't bother is onions. So you could plant onions around wherever you can fit them. I don't find anything bothers onions.
Or garlic.
Nothing.
Garlic's safe.
Yep.
Or if you want to do something like an herb, you could put sage or thyme or rosemary.
Right,
I've never had a problem with deer.
Potatoes will get. You think potatoes will get chewed up and eaten up and everything?
Yeah. I think potatoes will probably get munched on.
Actually, so in that 4-foot composter, one year, the neighbor girls came over and helped me plant potatoes in that, because it was like, it's 4 foot high, right? And it was stuffed with leaves and stuff, but I put a little bit of soil and stuff, and we put potatoes in and grew potatoes.
Oh, see, there you go. That's what I would think.
It wasn't terribly successful, but a few potatoes came out of it. And okay,
so I can see woodchucks getting in there and just making a feast of that.
Right.
Okay, I had one other thing to say, that I have some extra things, tulips, raspberries, hostas, and dill. And if anybody wants any of that, you're welcome to come over.
Say that again, Bill. Say that again. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was making a joke while Bill was making a very generous offer. Mary was telling me about this today. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so we have extra things: some tulips, some raspberries, some hostas, full size, and some dill, about 1 foot tall. And I don't deliver. So if anybody wants any of that, you're welcome to come, and I'll put it in a box or something. We'll bring a box and we'll just put it in. And anybody that comes over, I can offer. I have extra lettuce, some pak choy and bok choy. So I'll give you a little bag of that as a consolation for coming.
That sounds like a really good dill.
Thank you very much.
Oh man, Michael's on a roll. We're gonna add 10. We'll add 10 minutes to every meeting to get Michael's good jokes in here.
Yes.
So are you down in Warwick? Or you're down in Warwick, right?
I'm on Drew Road. It's outside of Amity, if you're familiar with where Amity is. But you can just call me for directions. 986-9477.
Okay, thank you.
The number. It's and if I'm not there, you just leave a message. I'll call you back.
The raspberries sound very tempting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Can you add me to the email? It's Carmen.
Oh, hi, Carmen.
Yes.
Yeah, Yes, who should send the email to? Sustainable Warwick or,
It's
Stuart-
Carmen, if you go to Sustainable Warwick and subscribe, I'll put you on this email list. Can you do that?
Okay,
Or-
what?
Or give me your email address now and I'll do it for you.
Okay, I'll chat, just put it on the chat.
Perfect.
yes. Thank you. I'm glad you're
Thanks,
joining us.
Carmen.
And where are you from, Carmen?
I'm in Walden's and I have a plot in um
Montgomery.
Montgomery. That's it.
Oh,
Fellow,
all
fellow
right.
gardener. She's one of our community
Oh,
gardeners.
good. Well, we
Oh,
welcome
great.
you.
We're starting off, so we weeding stuff out, and Mark has been great. I was there this weekend and he was giving me a lot of pointers. So
Oh, that's great. And again, Michael has a wonderful little joke here. Let's get in there, find a serious leak. Under the sink. Beautiful.
Very good, Michael.
All
And
right,
Carmen,
good.
I'll add you to the
Happy
list.
gardening.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Take
everyone.
care. Have a good
Good
night.
night.